respawning like crazy. Torch is gonna be in the mix for sure. Captains on both sides. The question is, can Energy handle the pressure from this guy?
So in between our monetization breaks there, which by the way, thank you guys so much for, because as always here on Fight Night, we're just trying to give a little homegrown amazing tournament that everyone's working hard here for, and we're trying to make it very fun in the process, which, you know, we're probably failing and succeeding with at the same time. Probably a combination of both. As now on the rollout though, Flyquest, they're finally on the rumored Captain America, their Spark Chief. Playing some Captain America here, a little Capflation, and we got Cap v Cap.
Yeah. They are going to throw down both of them. Vibranium Energy Source thrown out. Crimzo, the first to actually opt out of that engagement here. But of course, you still got to be very aware of this. Human Torches fighting. And Artigos is definitely being put under the pump right now. We're going to have Emma Frost in the front line, so that Force Physics come through. A lot of poke damage heading in the direction of Flyquest here. Sentinels trading damage pretty well. Crimzo soaking much of it now as Spark Chief tries to hit the back line, forces Korova back.
And you see right now, this is a pretty hard fight here for Flyquest, where they're waiting on picks. That's exactly what they needed. They needed energy to get one. They need to find some opening picks there, because Sentinels, they have so many flyers and so many opportunities to just like rotate around the geometry to where they're relying on just some picks to come out there from either energy or maybe Audios, and that's exactly what happened.
Chat, while we have a moment, please continue to hit those subscriptions, especially if you have a Prime. Look, I'm going to do it right now. All you got to do is sync up your Prime.
This whole time?
And then in the meantime, guys, if we hit to 250, I'm told we will feed our observers. It's going to happen.
It's one thing to give them water, but rations as well. I think
they're gonna get a little too. Yeah,
exactly. You're gonna start asking for I don't know, sugar, money, who knows. Vest taken down here though. Sentinels trying to get back in. It's the frontliner that's already been picked off. Right, amazing. Able to drop down there with some of those blast zones and pick up that elimination. Super Gomez now is more than happy just to farm ultimate up, I think, for the time being. Staying out of Energy's purview as well is going to be pretty important as that invisible boundary comes up, but Amazing is fearless. Will push in, force Energy to dash away under crow form, and it's time for some Supernovas.
Supernova used, Energy gonna get found there too. They're gonna be chasing it down. Still a lot invested into this Hyper Sentinels, and it's already 50% there with Flyquest. So Flyquest, I mean, you can just play to just get time off the bank here. It'd just be extra if you get to not win.
Okay, Spark Chief's going for the freedom charge here, so trying to give a little bit of that overshield over to Flyquest as they try and deal with all of that extra damage trickling in from the Supernovae. Spark Chief able to back out, good healing coming. You can see how quickly that health bar gets chunked down if they're not ready for it. And Flyquest have been in control this entire time. Sen need a shock and awe burst damage victory and not just this trade of attrition. Thank you very much, Max B. Fan, for the gifted sub to the destroyer of Clock. And there's Energy getting theirs cleaned. Crimzo goes in, finds the Hella, and that's going to be great news for Amazing.
I think that's finally going to be the flip here. A little bit late contest coming out from Flyquest, but it should just be the end here as they clean up. As another gifted there, Patty Mac. Thank you for the Prime. That was a gift, rather. I mean, it was a gift to us, all the same. It was truly a gift, I should say. So now, Sentinels, they get the flip. The bank's not too strong for them there, and Flyquest is going to be really happy with their defense with holding on to the point so far. They're going to be walking into this next fight, 3 ults, soon to be 4. And this is just a game for Sentinels of, can we win as many fights as possible, being as economical as possible? Can we save our ult economy? Can we try to use just one? I mean, we need to get one for the first step.
It's hard, though. This comp doesn't generate picks like Hella does, right? Flyquest are the ones that, in theory, have a chance to win those fights much cheaper. Unless Super Gomez is able to find someone, but the time to kill for Star-Lord is usually just a little bit too high. Obviously,
yeah, especially with the nerfs for him too. Exactly. He just can't go one into the blaster barrage. He can't just do quite as much burst damage. So they're relying a lot on just waiting for a long, slow poke.
Cooper-tastic, your player of the year, getting pressured down pretty heavily now, going a little bit low, but Energy gets taken down. So Hella off the table yet again. Energy, who was unbelievable in that previous series, now is up against a tougher challenge, and Sentinels are keeping the Hella under the thumb.
And I think this is potentially where this comp might succeed a little bit more, is that even though you don't have as much burst, you do have the ability to keep Super Gomez very much in Audios' face to just try to deny the angles right here for Audios. So sure, you have to be aware of Energy, but there's a lot of skybox to work with. Can just try to avoid the Hella poke. So this is where it really just gives value.
Galactic Legend now for Super Gomez. What's there to be found here? Rejuvenation Domain already popped to Vest, trying to play from within that as much as possible. There is, of course, a Seduction at the ready. Vest might be looking for it now. Set up a staging ground far forward. Supernovas do come in. Korova falls. Adios finally getting on the board in a big way now. Freedom charge coming out from Crimzo. It's only a front line and Aramori left. Sentinels, not much left to bank on. They get a lead, but it's a tiny one. And now Flyquest are in control with 4 ultimates.
Thank you, Max, for the sub. I mean, there's just no way they can make it back. Thank you, Max, for the sub, but also there's just no way that I think they can make it back effectively here. because there's ult to the bank here for Flyquest. They are going to have the portal, but because of those staggers, they're just going to be walking out to a lot of this damage. They need to play this portal hopping really, really well to eventually stay up. And it looks like they're doing it pretty well so far from Super Gomez.
Yeah, Aramori got through the portal and threw an invisible boundary down straight away. And there's the Supernova. Zelos gets kicked in the teeth. Energy now up in the sky, but yeah, we have a Doctor Strange in the game, so this Goddess of Death doesn't get a whole lot done. Techie falls though, and Crimzo has to succumb. That's the front line of Sentinels out of the game. I guess you count Super Gomez here, but he was really just the delivery system to get them on point, and Nahela starts to take the game over. Flyquest are warmed up, oiled up, ready to rumble, and they'll take the first round.
And, you know, really good recontest. I thought it was going to be pretty hard, and it was there for Sentinels just because of those staggers.
It's amazing, just pops his head out of the way. There is a psionic seduction at the ready, so that 5 times fast for Techie. Crucially though, Kubatastic has a god of mischief to copy one of those invisible boundaries.
We're just right now in the poke phase. Some Marvel Rivals equivalent of laning. Right now we're just going to be sitting here poking for a bit as here goes the Sonic Seduction already for Techie, knowing that, okay, we've removed some of the cooldowns. We can try to pop it, maybe force the strategy. That's exactly what's going to happen. Now Kasim will get back in.
Spark Chief getting a look. Won't be able to get away with this. So that's the opening for Sentinels. They got rid of the cap. That's a backline pressure being limited. There it is. Energy dominates the Star-Lord. We'll continue to raise the question about whether you need some hit scan presence here. Now, Anios can go for it. Right Mazing, though, is the first to come forward. There's a Supernova in play for Flyquest Go, but Right Mazing's about to have one of their own at the ready. An invisible boundary comes straight on down. Will this be enough now? Sentinels want to try and shove their way in. Aramori gives that extra healing. And here's that Galactic Legend now to punish.
And they're going to be able to chase off this damage too. Even if the Galactic Legend doesn't end up finishing a lot of limbs, which it does, to be fair. Really good ult tip there for Sentinels. Some early finds as well. Going to be another late stagger on a Cooper-tastic. The imitable. How could it happen to him? I don't know. But now, Sentinels holding on to the point. First flip. Still holds on to the Freedom Charge as well, so they're going to have some sustain for the upcoming fight. I mean, not quite as good as the Boundary for Zelos, but for Flyquest, you look at this and you're like, okay, we know there was a lot invested for Sentinels. This is the fight we just want to get an immediate flip. There's not a huge disadvantage in the ult bank.
Yeah, the earlier the better, right? Make use of the ultimates they've already built. Right, amazing. That is ballsy. Goes in and is punished. Vess finds him in midair. Here comes Crimzo though. Freedom Charge active. A lot of knockups going on, and so you're going to use an invisible boundary off the pointy for Flyquest just to stop this push. You return to the fight with yet another one. So you've got an embarrassment of riches, but meanwhile, Sentinels are up at 42%.
Now, another pick going to be answered there. Aramori down. They're still going to have this copy of the God of Mischief as well, but Sentinels, I mean, they're not really going to be able to contest the point here. Yeah, they're not going to be able to. And now that's the flip for Flyquest. They get the Goddess of Death out, but still pretty decent position to be in.
All right, there's Spark Chief out of the mix. Right, amazing, able to find a connection crucially. Techie's still hanging with the seduction available. Comes through, but Crimzo got picked off. Psionic Vortex going to be enough to deal with that cap. Energy's playing to the low ground for the most part here. Has to be aware, of course, of Ryan Mazing at large, and they're constantly trying to play out of Energy's line of sight. Eventually, that's going to become prohibitive.
Yeah, they have to be constantly aware of Energy there for the threat. Got a Mischief used. Gonna have that invisible boundary. Over now, there's gonna be I mean, pretty much the problem there is, yeah, I was about to say, problem there is you're gonna pop the Galactic Legend. You don't have a supportive strategy soul to just keep you covered and just immediately picked by Energy. So now Flyquest, they have the pick. They're still gonna have the Supernova as well. Should be a flip. Or not, but rather a defense.
Yeah, like a hold. It's pretty important. The Flyquest now are getting up to Sentinels total. And there's Amazing eventually going down. How long can Sentinels contort themselves into a shape that sort of doesn't need to play the Hela? Aramori. Okay.
Mantis.
What do you make of the Mantis here? I mean, this is an Aramori special. We used to see that from her pretty early on in the Sen era. What do you make of it?
I mean, it gives you some options to contest Energy a bit more. You have some more damage, especially with the buffs recently. You also have the ability to drop the damage orbs to just pocket Super Gomez or even Ryan Mazing if you want, to just kind of continually force out Energy from the off angles. So it's a pretty interesting idea. You don't have the Revs comp without the Adam Warlock, but you do have the opportunity to fight the flanks a lot harder, which it looks like they're going to be trying to do.
Okay, Aramori trying to get as much of that healing in as possible, also weaving that damage across. In comes Ryan Mazing. More of a peel attempt here for Sentinels as this round is starting to get away from them. And frankly, Flyquest are still sitting on so much to work with. Their invisible boundary just came down, but there's a second one that's about to come up here. And the front line of Flyquest are chilling. Not a lot of threat to them right now as Crimzo wants to dive in. Here is that seduction. Crimzo with a freedom charge. Got rid of Cooper-tastic. What an important pick-off getting rid of the player that basically has been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for contributions for gaming has got to feel good for Crimzo. And Sentinels now can flip back at 50%.
I mean, might be one of the most influential Rivals players.
I would say that like Ukraine were actually offered the minerals deal, and they said no, just give us Cooper-tastic, and you have a deal. Like that's just how. It's impressive.
We have labs working around the clock just to figure out, can we clone his DNA?
Yeah, or at least can we just like replicate his scent? It's the most powerful aphrodisiac.
Just give us anything at all.
Yep.
I see, Ryan Amazing. I mean, contesting. There's a bit of a Captain America fight going on here. As Crimzo trying to just remove Spark Chief, him and Ryan Amazing. But it's pretty hard to do when you're getting pocketed.
Oh, look at this. This is pretty punishing. Yeah, Spark Chief has to try and get away. Freedom charge ready, and we are assembling, folks. Super Gamers over the top here. Great pick. Finding Cooper, which honestly, you think it would take about 100,000 men, all armed to the teeth with pikes and kitchen implements. Either way,
just anything.
Down. Nicely done by Super Gomez. And this will be Sentinels now. Striking distance of taking the round away. Flyquest had a good start, but Sentinel figured it out. Maybe to switch to the Mantis. Maybe Amazing just popping off. Super Gomez pick there on the Loki, though, definitely gets an honorable mention.
I think, at least for this particular point, it does put a lot of value in the pocket for Sentinels. And I think the swap is really good because when you're watching the Captain America, plus also you get the sleep too. You get that spore, that slumbering spore, where you have the option to actually put to sleep the jumpers, you know, put maybe a flanker in general.
With Mantis on Rivals Fight Night. Back to you.
Okay. That is quite surprising, honestly, considering we've run this, this is like number 9 now. It's been a couple months at it. So, can Sentinels...
I skipped a few, but I honestly cannot remember Mantis winning a game. Chat, am I wrong?
I would have believed you. Yeah,
I mean,
chat.
I thought there were some triple strategist compositions with Mantis that worked, but I mean, do you count games or just maps? I guess.
I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
I think
we need
probably
stats
like
person.
yeah, probably like a map, right? I want to gotta win the whole map in the end, but that requires you to stick to it. It gets muddy, chat. Don't think about it too much. Here's Adios trying to get people to sort of look at him. Supernova comes into play though for Ryan Amazing. Back away, of course, from that invisible boundary, but Gomez, yeah, blaster barrage gets him in there. Supernova coming down for Ryan Amazing, excuse me. With a decent amount of damage, at least to counteract that healing over time being provided by the Invisible Woman, and Aramori is picked off. That's Flyquest with the opener. Energy, proud as a peacock, set up there on top of that pillar. Still looking for just some damage on the front line by the looks of things. Spark Chief's out of the game, and now the pressure starts to mount for Energy. They've got to be coming for this Heller in a few moments. He's on the clock, but takes Ryan Amazing out of the game. Super Gomez doesn't really have anywhere to go.
Crimzo Soul run around the point, but Energy just uncontested right now. They had Crimzo drop the Freedom Charge, just run on in, let that recontest happen. They're hoping they can get to the back, maybe find a strategist, find maybe even a duelist. But Energy just unfortunately just not contested, especially with Techie going down a little early there. Vest finding that pick. So now Flyquest, they get the first fight. They hold on to Supernova. They're close to a Freedom Charge of their own, so they have a lot of sustain. They have some damage in this fight. And for Sentinels, you're just thinking about how can we set up Super Gomez, the Galactic Legend, knowing that there's not much to deal with it, but you have to be worried about Energy all the same.
And this Supernova just punishes the push out of the choke for Sentinels. They're probably going to have to respect it, or at least just come around the other way. Although, I'm pretty sure I'm looking at Crimzo there in the periphery.
Yes, he is.
Yep,
that's it. He's touching the point.
35% and counting for Flyquest. Now, they might have a drop on Techie here. A little bit dangerous. Techie gets healed up, though. Here's the Galactic Legend now coming over the top of the fight. Vest does have a seduction available, but no great opportunity to make use of it here. So they'll bide their time. Pushing up, pressuring these Emma Frost shields down. Into diamond form now. We'll double back. It's a war of attrition, guys. Strap yourselves in. Here it comes. The seduction thrown out. Also, invisible boundary here. Vest goes low, just chunked down. Techie had their ultimate active as well. And Amazing sees an opportunity to take down Cooper, which is surprising considering they need a palanquin to get down to their fridge. They do eventually fall, though. Spark Chief, one of the last to go down. Here are Sentinels back into the game.
I really like how Flyquest tried to play that, knowing they didn't have a strategist ult. They just backed up, used the region domain. They tried to use the Mind Aegis as well from the Emma Frost to just block out some of the damage. It worked, but the problem is that Sentinels, they had a lot of ults. They had a lot of space to work with, so they could put Ryan Amazing into the back, use some of the portals to get on out. So now, Flyquest in a recontest situation. They're looking to get that recap. They do have some ults in the bank as Crimzo getting chased down off the high ground a little early.
Best spotted there by Techie. They've obviously got eyes elsewhere. Now, big choke slam on Spark Chief. Good pressure. Cooper-tastic going very, very low. They almost fired up Air Force One to get him out of danger, but he was able to survive. Good healing there from Flyquest. Invisible boundary there for Zelos. Energy bit of a spectator in that moment now as the fight moved over towards the point itself as Freedom Charge is in play. And look at how important that overshield has been for Sentinels.
Man.
Crimzo, what a timely ultimate to go for. Now Sentinels have a chance to regroup, but they don't have any key ultimates. Korova looking for that strategist ultimate. They may not have an opportunity, to get it.
No, it looks like they're not. Amazing going down as well. And I mean, really, that is kind of the benefit of having this Captain America in this comp, where sometimes we wonder, like, what is it doing, right? You're not necessarily playing a full dive. As the reason why I'm not really commenting on this is that it should just be a slow loss here for Sentinels. They don't have the numbers. They don't have the ults. Should be Flyquest flipping, which they're going to do. And really, the Captain America, like you pointed out, Uber, is just bonus health. Having the bonus health with the Freedom Charge, it keeps you in that fight a little bit. Flyquest did the same thing with Super Gomez dropped the Galactic Legend. So now they get the flip. Pretty equivalent in the banks overall. They're going to have the Freedom Charge themselves. But for Sentinels is once again a setup of how can we set up the Galactic Legend? How can we use it to get max value? Ideally for Flyquest, they just have to use the Freedom Charge to negate it.
Yeah, that overshield is... it doesn't come quite fast enough, but it's going to make it take a lot longer for Super Gomez to pick people off. But we actually see the Freedom Charge come out a bit earlier. Maybe some faith in one of the other strategists to develop an ultimate in time, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. The Spark Chief is tying Sentinels up, keeping them busy, but here is that Galactic Legend. Adios spotted here. Super Gomez absolutely spoiled for choice in terms of targets, and it's all about trying to play around that low-key sustain. Rejuvenating Domain does its job now. Super Gomez drops back down. Invisible Boundary thrown onto the point here for Sentinels. Teki getting close to yet another seduction here. Sentinels should be able to drive Flyquest away, especially with the loss of Spark Chief. Now it's got to be a long run back to that 100.
And that's how Sentinels, I mean, continue. You watch that fight happen there. Why Sentinels such a scary team? Because they didn't even use Crimzo to contest the point there. So they had a very strong front line. They're just continuing to cycle contest to just make sure that Flyquest can't hold a really aggressive position there. So they had to back up, use the Freedom Rush a little early, which means that the Galactic Legend a lot more deadly. Gave them a lot more space, gave them the Pixes. Now Flyquest, they're going to try to do the same, just go to point directly.
All right, here it comes. Supernovas are in play. That's Sentinels now trying to make it a bit risky for Flyquest to get up close. Best, though, throws themselves at the point. The seduction here on Amazing could be very powerful to draw that Human Torch towards them. Damage boost coming out there. Had to mention that Aramori has gone over towards the Rocket Raccoon. And can Sentinels make use of this ability now? It's Cubatastic going down. Too busy having the Netflix series written about the best gamer alive to continue playing this game out. Super Gomez goes over the top there. Blaster barrage to the backside. Interrupted, though, by the Psionic Vortex. And this is dangerous for Sentinels. Gomez can come back, of course, get 3D printed. Korova's going to get there as well. But Flyquest seem to have their measure. A really long, drawn-out brawl on this point, but with Korova going down now, that's the lion's share of the healing Sentinels would have had at their disposal. Galactic Legend isn't enough. Adios goes low. Teki gets to the point. There's still fight to be had. Super Gomez is high enough to not take enough damage, but Adios eventually is able to find him with some spray. Best onto Teki. It's Emma on Emma action, and Flyquest come out on top in that engagement. Amazing with the knives. At least finds one, but Aramori goes down as Cooper, the god gamer that he is able to flex to any role and have impact and single-handedly delivers a victory for Flyquest. You love to see it. A real competitive first map.
I look at this and you see Gorch, and I'm like, what do I look at Flyquest? Like Groot, Emma Frost again, probably, because Emma Frost still Midtown, pretty strong. You can play, like, you get a lot of value from Psionic Seduction from you know, just using the Crystal Spear as well. So I imagine the comps aren't going to be too drastically different unless this Jeff changes something a lot for Flyquest.
But the Australian has to apologize for impersonating a freaking American. That's your favorite
you brought it on yourself, okay? Maybe you could also be wearing like a kind of a raggedy Under Armour t-shirt, perhaps, and like a
no, dude, I'm
cap,
thinking
like
arseless chaps will bust at this point. I'm losing my mind. All right, well, here's your boy Gomez. We talked about the Wolverine. It's very good here, but Energy also tried to play some of that in the previous series against Luminosity NA. Looked like they were down to Clown as well.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I do really like just busting out here on the Wolverine early. Flyquest, they had the similar idea of like, okay, we're going to brawl really aggressively. We have a lot of damage here. We have the ability to just find someone with the leaps. As, you know, Gorch on the table, Emma Frost on the table. Is Flyquest, though, I mean, looks like they want to play some pretty interesting, just continue with the Strange, actually. The Portal contest, get back up to the high ground.
Okay, so have another proper fight here and instead of having to walk back the long way. See how this plays out. Play in a small room, and it's hard for the Wolverine to drag you out, but then you're also really susceptible to that AoE damage that someone like Amazing can put down. So here we go. We have a duped ultimate here. Aramori eventually going to let it go. It is a course. Invisible Boundary. That's going to be in play. Crimson now has that Strangling Prison online. Amazing's getting pretty close to the Supernova as well. Keep eyes on that one as it's Adios on the tank here. I want to sort of point that out. Looks like Spark Chief. Triple tank composition for the time being now, but energy, that is sad. That is a sad end. Supernova now coming down. Amazing able to get the enemy Human Torch and then look for more.
They have to be worried now about the Avakamoto, though. Audios does have it available. They're going to have the Coco Levitation. Finds two. Can't find anyone, but it's both the Vanguards. It's both the Vanguards, though, unfortunately. But they're still getting a Crimzo.
Crimzo, let's go down. Super Gomez back into the fight now. Regenerative healing factor still available. Got used there in that last moment. Now they want the techie. Gomez tries to burn them down before they get seduced, but I'm sorry. It was not quite quick enough. Gomez just walks in a super forward and gets taken down.
I mean, there's just no way. There's no way you're going to be finding there in time as long as the support's in time. So Sentinels looking to make their way back in. They don't have a ton of ults option. It looks like they just want to try to burn stuff out of Flyquest here because the combo comes up. No one goes down, though.
Decent. Yeah, okay, Aramori had the invisible boundary. Crucial answer to that ultimate combination. Adios! Living up to their name. Super Gomez is going to take them down. Sentinels still on the move, still pushing up. We're down to about 90 seconds left in the game, and they've lost their tip of the spear, so to speak. Wolverine's out of the game, and Techie doesn't really have eyes for energy. Maybe wish they gave them a bit more attention.
Energy doing a really good job of continuing to, even if they were losing sometimes these duels into Amazing, they're continuing to make sure, I mean, they didn't lose at that time, to be fair, but they do have a Guardian Shield. They're just keeping the pressure on to the backline here for Inferno. So Flyquest, they just have continuous pressure coming out from Energy. Audio's now making the swap back to Iron Man. So just going for the double flyer, going to play the geometry here. I mean, double flyers for both squads here. So we're going to have some fighter jets in the air. They're zooming around.
Yeah, with Luna and Hella banned, this is go time here for Sentinels. They're trying to find a way through. The Wolverine was not it, but perhaps the Iron Man gives them a little bit more of an edge. Adios has to respect that one now. Crimzo gets brought down. Strangling Prison from Spark Chief allows Flyquest to find a crucial defensive stop. A Koopatastic, God forbid, is out of the game. Amazing, of course, spending the Supernova on getting that important Loki pick off. Now Amazing needs to go up a notch here. He needs to kick things up a gear, but definitely a sense that Sentinels are running a little bit low on the juice now. Unibeam will try and keep Amazing honest as they try and play around the corner of that building. It's Spark Chief, though, that needs medical attention desperately, and he will get it.
This corner just so strong. They're trying to get over it now. Supernova invested, so Flyquest still just trying to fight this corner so aggressively. Energy gonna go down for it, and maybe, finally, potentially, there's a chance that they can ignore the Sonic Seduction, they can get past this corner.
Yep, seems to be the case. Super Gomez at least able to avoid it. Oh God, Pulse Cannon comes in, and it was Super Gomez that ended up getting
no touch.
Down. That is devastating for Sentinels. But Sen, in theory, had perfect conditions. Their front line was getting battered constantly. Now they've added another Vanguard. Let's see if that will be enough to hold Flyquest at bay. Is that a Squirrel Girl? Adios.
That is. I mean, that's once again Koopatastic's tactical genius making this call. So another really good call from Koopatastic. It's just our MVP there. And to be fair, I did expect Sentinels to eventually play this triple Vanguard again, but Squirrel Girl is kind of just like you suss it out and you just spam damage into this triple Vanguard.
Finally, Adios getting a bit of attention there from the duelists. A lot of damage done halfway towards a something Squirrel Tsunami. Don't make me do it sort of word for word, but there we go. You've got to go after the Squirrel Girl. You got to find it, but that might have teased for Amazing into a bit of a risky spot. Crimzo ultimately went down, so it's one of the many tanks that Sentinels are fielding here. One of the Vanguards that are out of the game now. Energy falls, though. Important for Amazing to take that win in mid-air, and so far, so good for the triple Vanguard setup of Sentinels. Flyquest's got to make a way through, but Korova's able to find an invisible boundary to keep them nice and topped.
Oh, a bit of a misplay there. The boundary just comes out a little late, unable to save Gomez. So now they're having to back out, and additionally, they weren't able to find anyone off the force physics. They might even lose some staggers here.
Supernova in play now. Spark Chief very close to a Strangling Prison, so the timing could be pretty big as Energy's building towards one of their Human Torch ultimates as well. Spark Chief just wants to make this space, push forward. Okay, force physics pulls him forward. He says, I'm quite happy with that, actually. Here it is, the boundary coming down. Spark Chief waiting for the perfect opportunity. Doesn't even need to go for it. What a drubbing that was. Flyquest run roughshod over Sentinels, taking our second map in a series with ease.
We have the Hulk. The Hunk has been removed. So has Star-Lord.
Which depends on how far the offense gets in the first attack, to be honest.
Oh, we're going far. It's a new map.
Yeah.
How could they not?
Okay.
Stick to the tried and true. What's worked for them?
Uber, can I interrupt this? We are 3 subs away from unlocking 2 more emotes. We're also at 1,337 viewers. That is elite. Get your subs in right now so we can make platonic emotes for next week. Thank you.
This actually has to be maddening if you're a viewer that's tuning in and be like, what are they the inside jokes have
Popeyes,
never wanted more
Maltese,
rampant. Yeah,
platonic map selection. Yeah.
We're building up lingo at an incredible rate right now. As you see, Sentinels on the offense, you see a little bit more of this just like contesting is going to be happening. Pretty similar to Midtown, where you're just trying to play the geometry. Duel with the Flyers is right amazing. I mean, getting pressured out pretty heavily here.
They've done well to stay alive. Amazing drops to the ground. Spark Chief, low as low gets there for a time, but able to be brought back into the game. Flyquest, remember, they're defending for the series here. Want to try and have a great start on this map, but who is going to deal with these Flyers? Unibeam here for Adios. Chunks are amazing down, but he has the team up passive. Can give himself a bunch of healing, and here's that supernova now from the defenders. Energy built that one awfully quick, folks. And now through a literal Dante's Inferno, Sentinels do have to advance, but the invisible boundaries are in play. They're overlapping like a Venn diagram of cool, calm healing. Nicely done by Adios. Crimso gets dunked on there from above. Getting rid of the Groot is massive.
And remember I said there's going to be probably more of the same comp-wise? I mean, it's just double fire, playing the choke. You're just able to contest this using this geometry so effectively. So it's a really well-picked map. In terms of for Flyquest side, honestly, even though they didn't pick it, it was Sentinels that did. So they have to be pretty happy as Max v Phantom. I mean, we've hit it. We hit the 3 subs. 200. There we go. We've gotten our emotes, our extra emotes. Can't wait to put maybe a platonic emote in there in the mix. Just potentially a Popeyes, like you never know. But Sentinels, they just need to remove these Flyers off the choke.
Platonic emote unlocked. Thank you, Max v Phantom.
Thank you. Yeah, getting us to 200 subs. That's a big deal. Bobbinator, thank you for the 5 gifted. Love to see that Super Gomez get skewered by Spark Chief. But Zelos ended up falling in the end. Adios here with the Unibeam. Looking for Ryan Mazing, who doesn't quite have the team up available yet, but it's getting a little bit dangerous. A little hot in there for the Iron Man, and Adios will have to take a sidebar. Energy, though, comes back in with Supernovas to deploy, and Sentinels now is going to start feeling the heat once more. Kurova with the invisible boundary in play, though. Techie's looking for Vesson, who will eventually get the better of their opposite number, as Aramori's force physics helps to claim the elimination. They, of course, are duped. An invisible woman right now, and Ramazing goes down, but Sentinels shouldn't have to spend too much more here. Now they'll throw down that invisible boundary, lest Aramori loses it. Remember, using a duped ultimate in copied form extends the duration of your copy. Quite effective if you want an extra invisible woman in play.
And off those picks, Sentinels finally breaking the hold. Was pretty effective. Gonna get some late staggers here as well. But now for Flyquest, I mean, they can be pretty happy. Not a pretty solid hold overall for a first point. Always one of the tougher parts of the map to break here as we move on a second. And for Sentinels, you look at this upcoming fight, you say, okay, we know there's going to have to deal with a pulse cannon. We're going to have to deal with a Psionic Seduction. You kind of just mirror that. And for them, it's just keeping this pressure onto Adios to make sure they're just going to get a free pick. And that's going to be the name of the game here for Sentinels as they move to second is, let's keep the pressure on, let's keep Adios off any strong off angles.
Crimso there, cranking some 90s. Respect it. Trying to get those walls up and ready. Techie's going to work around this iron wall. Good capture. God, all of Flyquest caught inside that seduction, at least a lot of them. They're able to back away, though. And the rejuvenation domain, very important for the defenders to keep an even footing. Super Gomez dies to Vez's punch. Okay. Now Sentinels again without that sustained damage.
Yeah, I think he got caught by the ground. I think he flew a little too close to the frost. Not to the sun, but rather the inverse got caught out there. As now Flyquest still trying to round the corner. Have to be careful not to lose anyone.
Wall comes up. There's the pulse thrown up. Well defended there by Spark Chief. Amazing. Not able to get that insta-kill off that Iron Man ultimate. Spark Chief, though, a little bit low now. Strangling Prison comes out, and Crimso gets flattened instantly. Supernova in play for energy. Flyquest have all they need to make a symphony of disaster as far as Sentinels are concerned. Kurova out of the fight, and it has to be a full regroup for the attackers again.
Really good couple seconds there for Spark Chief. I mean, uses the wall to mitigate any of the splash damage, just telling Vest they'll expect one of us in the Wreckage Brothers. You know, just making sure to wall them off. Like, they don't want to have anyone go down there. That's technically DC Universe, but that's fine, right? We can make that reference.
No IP.
Sure.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm sure we can make that reference. As now,
holy shit, it's also Batman.
It's Batman. I can't believe it. But now Flyquest still holding on to the choke here, holding on to the corner. And Sentinels, they really just need to find an option, just continue to just make them back up, give up some space here so they can get their Flyers in range, do more damage.
Velos, though, finds the ultimate. This is pretty helpful. Cooper also, okay, in his Divine Wisdom, opts also to dupe this, so we're going to have back-to-back, potentially, Invisible Woman ultimates. Cooper holding on to it for the time being, though, unless they've already made use of it, which may be the case. We'll wait and see. Spark Chief getting pressured now. Able to sustain through much of this healing, though. Rejuvenation domain in play, and there's Cooper about to build that ultimate up. Techie is down. Flyquest got the finding every edge, looking very good. Super Gomez looks to try and dive in here. That's amazing. Finally, with the pulse cannon kill on Energy and Vest. That is max value, but it is maximum pulse from Flyquest. That doesn't hit the mark. No connection there for Adios.
The Spark Chief, though, commits the Strangling Prison, hoping they can burn when they were down 2 players. Honestly, a little ambitious. It is going to give the pressure out overall, the Force Strangling Prison, and they're getting picks in return. Sentinels, they just don't have the momentum to get up over this hill. It took them so long to just try to get through the invisible boundary there for Zelos. They just couldn't do it.
And there's going to be another one. Zelos has been able to develop almost another full ultimate over the course of that fight, and Sentinels are running out of time. They have a seduction. Pecky has it online, but outside of that, nothing that I would be in a hurry to write home about. Flyquest, respectively, Supernova in play. Invisible boundary, like we just said, just around the corner. The defenders are very favored here as Sentinels look like they're floundering in this series.
Especially because the Supernova is up for Flyquest here, so they have multiple, and they're about to have the Sonic Seduction, so pretty much they're going to have all the ults they need to control this choke and force out some early strategy ults to the Sentinels, who really, I mean, don't even have strategy ults to begin with, so they have everything they need their bank to just to put some pressure early onto Sentinels if necessary, because they can just play the dancing game here into the Supernova, just wait, save it up, but now the Spark Chief goes down.
It looks like there was a great wolf from Crimzo that actually gave Spark Chief nowhere to go. Super Gomez does get entranced for a moment. The Flyquest now have to make it work with 5 players for the time being. There's an invisible pulse cannon here for Adios, looking for a big hit. Amazing from behind the shield. Doesn't connect. That was the pulse cannon that Sentinels were looking for to open this fight out, and Spark Chief's going to return on some hard-hitting fists. Spark Chief with the Cap America comes on in, but Energy has fallen now. Real opportunity here for Sentinels to push into the last phase of the map, but it is a combat ultimate. Cooper-tastic there with the invisible boundary in play. Zelos going down. Nobody to keep Super Gomez in check, and Adios does not connect that pulse cannon. Looking how to get out of the fight. Maybe have a chance still to sort of fight this, drag it out a little longer. The vest is too low. Cooper has to go green in order to try and keep this contested, and Platatoska gets to the door.
And I mean, a really good hold there for Flyquest again, but you know, I think you have to just recognize that Crimson opened it up, got the wall early on the Spark Chief, gave a strong position to Sentinels. They get to walk on forward here, and even with all that, Flyquest still down a player. Just they're so effective at just keeping both their flyers in the action, but also keep them healed up and kind of uncontested, honestly. Rymaze and Super Gomez are trying their best here, but I feel like Flyquest definitely having a much better time of just getting more value from the flyers in general.
So far, that's been the case. I mean, this has been so labored for Sentinels. This entire map, they're trying to wrap around here. Look at them go through. I like this. Sentinels looking for a favorable fight on the high ground to circumvent the stairs, but they haven't accounted for Adios' damage. Crimzo wasn't quite able to get out alive, and now with that, your key frontliner. Sentinels are languishing once more.
A lot of languishing. You know, they're in biblical levels.
A lot of languishing.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely would be the case. As we're in a last fight scenario here for Sentinels. The wraparound did not work. They do have some ults here in the bank, so they have some options to just try to burst through, but they have to be worried because Flyquest holding on to both those duelist ults, so they have options to just pressure them here early, so they don't have to commit too aggressively.
Supernova from Energy. Gonna throw that on down, and yeah, Super Gomez is going to reciprocate now as well. It's about to get hot in here, folks. Big damage on Vest, able to stay alive. Oh, the cannon no good again from Adios. No connection. Right, Amazing will have a chance now to get value out of it, and it claims Cooper-tastic. Surprisingly, Flyquest don't lose the game on the spot. Still have a chance to fight with 5 players despite the loss of their fearless leader. Here comes the seduction. Pecky trying to lay it down. Who can he tease out of an invisible boundary? It looks like Spark Chief was affected, but is able to get out alive. There's Adios out of the picture. Sentinels set now to finish the map with no time left.
And Spark Chief, I mean, committing the Strangling Prison, but there was the walls up, so they couldn't even find anyone off that late Strangling Prison. So now Flyquest, they're caught in a stagger situation coming out of the spawn in the OT. They're going to lose some late staggers. As Sentinels, probably going to coast in here easily because there's just really unlikely that Vet's going to get any value from the Sonic Seduction, because even if they find a couple, they just won't be able to find anyone. They won't be able to get enough of limbs, surely.
They got pretty seduced, I'm not going to lie, but the damage follow-up wasn't really there. Vet's able to lay it down. Did they buy enough time? The answer is no. Sentinels finally dragged themselves out of this quagmire that has been Central Park and get the map done.
Production, feel free to mute Avast. We have ZP on standby.
Why can't I talk about Lapus on Steam? Why am I not? I feel like it's the people, they love him. They love him so much. He is a little old news now, honestly. I'm holding on to the glory days, but you know who's not holding on to the glory days? Flyquest, because technically they haven't achieved any glory yet. They haven't won the series, because they're all here on the offense. And Sentinels here, playing a pretty similar composition, just double flyers everywhere you can look. Flyers, just holding the choke.
So I found it. I found it on YouTube. That's
oh, good.
That's pretty catchy. I quite like that. Lapis on Steve, big fan.
I mean, that's a very boomer way to look it up because you went to YouTube, but that's fine. That's
I just typed it in Yahoo search, okay? And they came up with a YouTube suggestion. I don't understand what I've done wrong here. Oh, come on, brother, please. Here's right, amazing. On the defense, able to force Adios off that sight line with a nice little uni beam. Well, thank you very much for the Prime sub. We appreciate your support. Energy could use a bit more from his team, though. Flyquest not enough healing to keep that Human Torch in the fly zone. Fly zone? Fly zone. Yep.
Definitely not air.
I mean, the fly's down for sure, you could say. The fly is definitely down.
Casting is about saying the same thing 5,000 different ways. I can't just keep saying air. It's going to be the fly zone, the O2 strata.
The oxygen area.
Yeah, the above ground. We've got to work some more in.
The above ground. You sound like a mole person describing like the mythical before times.
But I think what question, bro.
Do you think in the current fly meta that Storm feels left out?
Probably, but she's kind of mid really because her aura. Like, I always supposed to work with people that like can play within her field of view, or field of like purview. Whereas these flyers want to be like solo flankers and stuff like that. Storm's too supporting, really. But does she feel left out? Yeah, sure. Who cares?
Yeah, you know what? Just say that she's left out. Just say that she's left out. Flyquest, they made their way onto the point here. They forced some boundaries. But now the worry here is, can they get off the pulse cannon? Because both these squads still going to have pulse cannons available, which could just wipe 2 to 3 people immediately. So you're going to be watching a lot of the dance here for the Ironman.
Uh-oh. Wow, okay. That was a block of that one. Adios not able to find a connection. Aramori, though, does go down. This is Sentinel's defense now crumbling. And honestly, credit to Flyquest. It didn't take them too long. Adios trying to write... Iron Man was here in the wall, apparently. But eventually, it will be a fight win. Fly are on the road with a pretty healthy extension to their time bank to boot.
Still not a huge advantage, to be fair, there for Flyquest. And it's all about the last point. Like, first, obviously, tough to break. But realistically, this map, it's all to get back to last. Because you're just such a hard... I mean, really, every point. As Vess. Ooh, the long flank. Maybe looking up instead of a Sonic Seduction. As the push goes in, they don't know. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Okay. Good reaction. There were every wall that you can imagine just got thrown in the direction of Vess. So nothing to be gained off that. Decent, I guess, pressure on that front line, but good response. Now, though, here comes the crackback. Techie going to make use of one of his own. Vess able to throw up a shield. There's an ironwood wall, and Vess somehow stays alive. Right, so now we've got that out of the way. The pleasantries have been exchanged, maybe a little bit too pleasant for seduction. Super Gomez does fall. Energy able to take them down there. Just a right click, oddly enough. Ramazing does not feel confident to play on this line any longer. We've got a dupe here from Kupatastic by the looks of things, and Crimzo falls. Energy really starting to dish it out.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the point of just the flyers there from Flyquest. They're getting the word bonus as Strangling Prison catches everyone here. They should be able to find them too. They have the wall. Sure, they can't get out. No, it just forced the invisible boundary. So it forced the boundary, but that means they're not going to have it for the recontest. Flyquest still in a pretty strong position. And oh no! I mean, they commit the combo, but it's too little, too late.
Oh man, what a sick Strangling Prison there. I love that from Spark Chief. Hold all of Sentinels off the cart, make it impossible to contest. And now, of course, you spawn that much closer from, I'll say, either of these doorways. So they don't have to have their wits about them, but they don't want to be forced inside this castle phase just yet. If they can get some value here out in the open with their flyers, they'll try and take it. It looks like it's time to pack it up.
Yeah, I mean, Flyquest utilizing the legendary 2 spawn door strategy to put some extra pressure to make sure that they don't have to like look around and look. This is Supernova going to be invested on the choke. A lot of damage coming out here soon. Flyquest probably just going to back up, yeah? Regeneration domain used.
Yeah, no reason to do too much with this. Happy to draw that ultimate out. I think big tick damage coming through, though, from Super Gomez. Look at those Flyquest health bars. Now, though, we've weathered the Firestorm. We're ready to get on the road. Invisible boundary here for Zealots. Vess also has a Seduction back online, getting a little bit quicker back than Techie. And this is an attack side Supernova. Energy going to throw it down. Gomez lucky to be alive there. Has to pop the team up as well for that extra over health. And does get out. And all the time, Ratatoska has been moving pretty quickly through this phase. There's Energy. Supernova eventually claims Super Gomez. And now Ramazing has to play this very safe corner, but has a lot of backup here. Really set up.
I mean, Ramazing playing this amazingly. I mean, he's solo holding this, making sure they can't move forward. They aren't able to take him either, and they're going to get their visual boundary. Ramazing playing this so well.
Oh my God. Adios gets 2. Amazing able to bring down the enemy Iron Man, though, and somehow that might not have been enough. He's locked in, but it might be too late in this series. Flyquest is still gunning for the objective. Here's the low-key copying now in play. Vess also has a seduction available, but Sentinels have to regroup now one more time. 2 minutes and 40 seconds is a heck of a long time, folks. Especially if you're a middle-aged man. So can they hold out?
They just can't lose any picks. They can't lose any picks right now. They have to get to the touch. They need to make it to the point. Once you have it down, they are going to get the touch, but Kurova already down. They're not going to have that. I mean, I think this is just going to be the cap here, unless, wait, Super Gomez with the pop-off?
That is pretty big, but eventually they're brought down. 2 kills, though, with spawn advantage could be a big deal, but Vess is not going to let Crimzo touch here, not easily anyway. Constant pressure there on that group. Card still being contested right now, though, by a couple of players. It's Techie desperately throwing himself in there. Now Ryan Mason to try and be a nuisance, stall things out. Iron Man goes down, though, and this card is so close to the end of the map here. Just a couple more eliminations, and Sentinel's going to get there. Kurova falling. Audio switches over towards the Doctor Strange, and how about that, folks? A map completion with time to spare from Flyquest. Just to make sure they've got that extra, that 7th player virtually.
Yeah, I mean, having that in combination with just the team up in general to get some of the infinite ammo, this is you have a lot of room to work with. And also, if you're worried about potentially removing some of the flyers from the angles, if you can set up Super Gomez on one of those angles effectively with Aramori or just with Rymazine, then you can just like remove the flyers out of the air entirely, which is an angle. The hardest part is just how do you deal with the geometry? The geometry here is going to deny a lot of the sight lines.
Walls coming up here, being broken. Ironwood wall also just getting chunked through. Super Gomez does not have to reload. Very powerful look here for the Punisher. And Spark Chief just gets flattened in the front line. Evidently not ready for that at all. Kaki and Crimzo, a little low, but they'll be back in the fight soon. And God, getting the Groot is the best pick possible. Flyquest now need to try and hold on. Spark Chief's going to come back on the cap. Someone needs to put some pressure here on this Punisher. But it's a CYA in play. The damage boost is big. Vess now going to fall. It's Vanguard after Vanguard falling by the hand of this Punisher.
I really like, you know, we talked about how we didn't love it a lot as, actually, before we go into that point, can't have that monologue just yet because the recontest happening for Flyquest. They have the Supernova. They're going to have the Pulse Cannon too. That's too worried not to get caught, but I doubt they want to commit much more when they're already down 1. They're down 2. Yeah, they're definitely not going to commit anymore.
No reason to. They've got to probably find an answer to this Punisher now. Sentinels have the answer here to getting this early point take, which took them a heck of a long time last time around. They've definitely managed to improve in that regard. Rocket Raccoon combo, pretty devastating. It does mean, though, that they might not be playing for the long game here so much as just getting that first checkpoint. This is all free.
I mean, I still really like it, though, Uber. Honestly, I do like this swap a little bit more than I liked it on Krakoa. And the reason why is because when you're playing these really long choke fights, the poke, building up the CYA when you get some of the bonus health and you get the damage boost now, so it just lets you like, take really aggressive fights with the flyers and just like try to poke them out. And if you lose someone, you have a BRB.
That's true, but with all the poke damage you take, Rocket gets damaged, and so the orbs don't travel away from them nearly as fast while they're healing them up. So you want to try and avoid taking as much poke as you can. Gomez is down, finally brought to heal by Adios, but we'll be back in the fight momentarily now. The Supernovas are spinning. Adios needs to get in there, knows he needs more, but a good casualty here for Sentinels might be the harbinger of their doom. Super Gomez is able to find one. Energy ends up getting cut out of the fight. According to the seduction briefly was Adios, silenced for a time. And here's Vess, has to go big, has to make something happen now amidst all of these Groot walls. Sentinels are finally silenced.
So definitely somebody you can rely upon if you're Sentinels and if you're a fan of Sentinels. For Flyquest, though, they have so much to work with as it looks like Sentinel's going to try to go for some very early poke. I mean, they even have the triple Loki.
The line?
They're just gonna leave, though. They're going to say, no, definitely not worth it to fight the spawn.
Okay, portal in play.
Portal.
Flyquest. Oh, guys, reminding me of like a Hall of Jalia here, but Sentinels are somewhat ready for this. You sort of knew it was coming.
It's just another choke. It's a choke within a choke, you know? Like, you get to ignore one choke, and now you come into the second choke.
They do get to play a little bit closer off this choke here. It kind of flips the map in a way. Sentinels now might be on the outside looking in, but Adios has been waiting to take the front door. Maybe a quick assassination on one of these flyers. He's been looked for. Super Gomez might have an idea.
They're trying to set it up. They're trying to set up a collapse here. Sentinels definitely knows this. They're trying to play this relatively split, but Adios, he's looking through the peak. He's peeking through the grates. He's saying, okay, here's our dive targets. Here's where they're split. It's just a question of can Flyquest execute.
This takes time, though. This has taken quite a long time, and Adios has basically been scouted out that entire time, and now both players are coming to look for him. What can he do, though? Attracting the attention of both of these players. Gomez here threatening. Unibeam. Oh, Adios lucky to be alive and can make use of that health pack. But elsewhere, Flyquest really have to do a lot to take these eyes off of their Iron Man. Can they apply a sufficient amount of pressure Nothing seems to be able to stop Amazing and Super Gomez right now. They're untouchable. And here's a Supernova now to make things worse for Flyquest. We're down to 90 seconds, and this fight is not going to go well for the attackers.
I mean, really, really good split there for Sentinels. You just see how they're playing. They're playing so aware of the Flyquest position there, post-portal. They're also keeping the eyes on Audios to make sure he just doesn't get free value. And it's just so hard to just make it out of that choke, and you're trying to set up like a really perfect dive there. And Ryan Amazing makes the most of it. As Flyquest making their way on back. No Doctor Strange shenanigans this time. And really just going to be a pretty equivalent ult fight. What is going to be pretty much the last fight here, Uber.
It's the double strategist ultimate that I'm looking at. But the pulse cannon for Super Gomez could ruin this fight before it even begins. It has to be good. It doesn't have to be perfect, though. Just get one of these strategists. Crimso's down early. Not a great sign at all. And no Rocket Raccoon to bring him back in the fight. Gomez under pressure. Has the pulse cannon. Dives there into the rejuvenation domain to stay alive. And then needs to gain some altitude. But Kurova's already down. Energy traded out. But still a player advantage for Flyquest. And they've got all the healing that they could ever need. Except Zelos has been a little isolated here. Adios those spots. Ryan Amazing and Spark Chief is able to finish the job. So it looks like Flyquest will have a little bit of residual time, and then, of course, overtime to try and exceed Sentinel's total.
Super Gomez finally getting caught there on the flank. There's going to be a recontest coming out from Sentinels. Going to be forcing a few more ults. I think this is the best case scenario here for Sentinels, is that you can come back in, take some more time off the clock, and more importantly, get these ults out of Flyquest. So getting the pulse cannon out of Audios, that's still kind of worth the stagger you're going to get. Now, you really don't want to have anyone else get staggered here, because this cart is not that far. I mean, there's not going to be that much time to set up here. They really want to be on the corner if you're Sentinels. Exactly. No, they don't lose anyone. So this corner fight going to be so important, and there's no strategist ults for Flyquest. No strategy ults into a Psionic Seduction and a Supernova.
No strategy ults at all. That's the scary part. And this Supernova could be pretty big when there's not that burst healing available. It's all on the table for Flyquest. $1,000 in the title of King of the Hill here of our rival fight night. Ryan Amazing brought down by Adios. Great Unibeam Techie's in deep trouble now. Sentinels at risk of letting it all fall apart. Crimzo is down. Energy pushes up, chasing away the remnants of Sentinels as they can't get back into the fight. We got a new champion here, folks. Our Rivals Fight Night as Flyquest complete the sweep.
And Flyquest, I mean, they just played it so well. Sentinels tried to go for that aggressive play with the early Supernova there on the corner. And on top of that, the Sonic Seduction just trying to wall someone off. And they get nothing. They get nothing. Crimzo drops the counter walls. They mitigate that entirely. They get those picks on the Vanguards. Flyquest looking really comfortable in this new meta.